Parents wanted me to hand over my $30,000 college savings to my sister for her apartment. I, 19 female, have always known my younger sister Lily, 17 female, was the golden child. She's beautiful, charming, and outgoing, everything our parents ever wanted in a daughter. Meanwhile, I was the quiet one, content with my books and my small circle of friends. Growing up, I accepted that our parents loved Lily more, though they never outright said it. It was in the little things. The extra hugs she got, the way they praised her every achievement, and how my accomplishments were often dismissed as just something expected. But I never imagined they'd ask me to sacrifice my future for her. For years, I worked hard to save money for college. My parents couldn't afford to help either of us with tuition, so I took it upon myself to secure my dreams. I started babysitting at 14, picking up part-time jobs during school breaks, and eventually landed a steady position at a local coffee shop. By the time I graduated high school, I had saved $30,000, not enough to cover all my tuition, but it was a solid start. I was so proud of myself. I'd done it. I carved a path to escape the suffocating expectations of my family and start fresh. I wanted to study journalism, something I dreamed of since middle school. Writing gave me a sense of purpose and identity, something I never felt at home. Then, a month ago, my parents sat me down for a family meeting. The moment I saw their serious faces, I knew something was up. My mom looked at me with this forced smile, the one she uses when she's about to ask for something. My dad wouldn't meet my eyes. And then Lily walked in, her face red and puffy from crying. "Your sister needs your help," my mom started, her voice unusually soft. Apparently, Lily and her boyfriend Mike had been planning to move in together. They found a nice little apartment downtown, perfect for the two of them. But when it came time to pay the deposit, Mike backed out. He didn't have the money, and Lily didn't either. She was devastated, claiming this apartment was her dream and that she couldn't go back to living at home. I sat there, confused. What did this have to do with me? That's when my dad finally spoke up. "We were thinking," he said, his voice hesitant, "that maybe you could lend her some of your college money. Just enough for the deposit." I froze. For a moment, I thought I misheard him. "What?" "It's only $10,000, my mom added quickly, as if that made it better. "You still have plenty left for school." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "I'd been saving that money for years," I said, my voice troubling. "It's for my education. Why would I give it to Lily for an apartment?" "Your family," my mom said, her tone suddenly sharper. "We help each other. Besides, you'll be fine. You can always take out loans." Loans? They said it like it was nothing, like I hadn't worked tirelessly to avoid being buried in debt. "I'm sorry," I said, standing up, "but the answer is no." Lily burst into tears, accusing me of being selfish and jealous. She stormed off, slamming the door behind her. My parents stayed behind, their expressions a mix of disappointment and anger. "We're not asking you to give it to her," my dad said, though his tone suggested otherwise. "Just lend it. She'll pay you back." I laughed bitterly. "Of what money? She doesn't even have enough for a deposit." My mom's face turned red. "Don't talk about your sister like that. She's going through a hard time." "And I'm not," I shot back. "Do you have any idea how hard I've worked for that money? Why is it always about Lily?" The conversation ended with my parents calling me heartless and ungrateful. They didn't speak to me for days, which I thought might be a blessing, but then things got worse. Lily started a smear campaign against me. She told our extended family that I refused to help her in her time of need. Suddenly, I was getting texts and calls from aunts, uncles, and cousins, all telling me I was being unreasonable. One aunt even offered to pay me $1,000 if I gave Lily the money, as if that made any sense. The pressure was overwhelming. Everywhere I turned, someone was guilt-tripping me. My mom wouldn't even look at me during dinner, and my dad barely spoke a word. Lily, of course, played the victim perfectly. She'd cry loudly in her room, making sure I heard her, and post vague messages on social media about how some people only care about themselves. I tried to stay strong, but it was exhausting. I started second-guessing myself. Maybe I was being selfish. Maybe I should help her. After all, she's my sister. Isn't family supposed to come first? But then, I remembered all the times Lily got what she wanted at my expense. Like when I was 12, and my parents canceled my birthday party because Lily had a dance recital the same day. Or when they made me give her my Christmas money because she needed it more. It was always the same story. Lily came first, and I was expected to fall in line. Not this time. Last week, my parents cornered me again. They told me Lily was threatening to move in with Mike anyway, even though the place was out of their budget. My mom cried, saying she couldn't bear the thought of Lily struggling like that. "Please," she begged, her voice breaking. "Just this once, do something for your sister." I felt like I was suffocating. "No," I said firmly, "I'm not giving her the money." My dad lost it. He started yelling about how ungrateful I was, how they'd raised me and supported me all these years, and this was how I repaid them. My mom joined in, accusing me of tearing the family apart. I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed my keys and left, driving aimlessly until I ended up at my best friend Megan's house. She's the only person who's been on my side through all of this. "You're not selfish," she told me as I cried on her couch. You're standing up for yourself, and that's okay. They're just mad because they can't control you anymore." Her words stuck with me. For the first time, I realized this wasn't just about the money. It was about years of being overlooked and undervalued. This was my chance to take back some control over my life, and I wasn't going to let it slip away. When I got home, my parents were waiting for me. My mom had been crying, and my dad looked angrier than I'd ever seen him. "You need to apologize to your sister," he said coldly. "For what?" I asked. "For not giving her money I earned." "For being selfish," my mom snapped. "This is your family. We don't turn our backs on each other." I stared at them, feeling a strange mix of sadness and anger. "No," I said quietly. "We don't. But you've been turning your backs on me my whole life." They didn't respond, and I walked away before they could. I don't know what's going to happen next. All I know is that I'm done being the scapegoat. This is my future, and I won't let anyone take it away from me, not even my family. The days following my refusal were tense, to say the least. My parents barely spoke to me, and when they did, it was only to remind me how disappointed they were. Lily, of course, wasn't helping. She ramped up her antics, crying loudly in her room and slamming doors whenever I walked by. She even left a note on my bed one night that read, "You ruined my life. Hope you're happy." At first, it hurt. No matter how much I tried to convince myself that I was doing the right thing, the guilt was unbearable. But then I thought about everything I'd sacrificed for Lily in the past. My birthday parties, my achievements, my happiness. It was always second to hers, and yet, here they were, demanding more. One afternoon, I overheard my mom talking on the phone. She was crying, as usual, and telling someone how terrible I was being. She said I was turning into a stranger, and that she didn't know how to get through to me. Hearing that made something click in my head. I wasn't a stranger. I was just finally standing up for myself, and they didn't like it. The situation escalated a week later when I came home from work and found Lily sitting on the couch with my parents. The moment I walked through the door, they all turned to look at me. "Sit down," my dad said, his tone firm. I hesitated. "Why?" "Just sit," my mom snapped. Reluctantly, I sat across from them. My stomach churned as I braced myself for whatever guilt trip they were about to unleash. "We've been talking," my dad started, "and we think it's time for you to start contributing to the family." I frowned. "What are you talking about? You're 19, my mom said. "You live here rent-free. We don't ask much of you, but it's time you helped out." I blinked, stunned. "Are you serious?" "Yes," my dad said firmly. "We decided that starting next month, you'll give us $500 a month to help with household expenses. And while you're at it, you'll give your sister the $10,000 she needs for her apartment." I stared at them in disbelief. "You're trying to force me to pay rent so I'll give Lily the money?" "This isn't about forcing you," my mom said. "It's about fairness. You've been saving all this money while we've been supporting you. It's only right that you get back." "Fairness," I repeated, my voice rising. "How is it fair that I've worked for years to save this money, and now you want me to just hand it over? Lily doesn't even have a job." "She's your sister," my dad snapped. "You're supposed to look out for each other." "No," I said, standing up. "I'm done. I'm not giving her a cent, and I'm not paying you rent just so you can give it to her." My mom started crying again, but I didn't care. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel guilty. I felt angry that they thought they could manipulate me like this, angry that they valued Lily's wants over my needs. "I'm moving out," I said firmly. The room fell silent. My dad's face turned red, and my mom looked like she was about to faint. "Don't be ridiculous," my dad said. "You can't afford to live on your own." "Yes, I can," I said. "I've been saving for years, remember?" "You're being dramatic," my mom said, wiping her tears. "You'll regret this." "No," I said, my voice steady. "The only thing I regret is letting you walk all over me for so long." I turned and walked to my room, slamming the door behind me. My hands were shaking, but I felt a strange sense of relief. For once, I was putting myself first. That night, I started packing my things. I called Megan and asked if I could crash at her place for a while. She agreed without hesitation, saying she'd even help me look for an apartment. The next morning, I left before my parents woke up. I didn't leave a note or say goodbye. I knew they'd try to stop me, and I wasn't in the mood for another argument. Living with Megan has been a breath of fresh air. For the first time in years, I feel like I can breathe. I've started looking for apartments close to the community college I'll be attending in January. It's not my dream school, but it's a start. My parents, of course, have been blowing up my phone. They've left dozens of voicemails, alternating between begging me to come home and berating me for being selfish. I haven't responded to any of them. Lily, predictably, took to social media to air our family drama. She posted a long rant about how I abandoned her and our parents and how I was hoarding money while they struggled. Some of our extended family members have reached out to tell me I'm doing the right thing, while others have sided with Lily. It's been tough, but I know I made the right choice. For years, I let my family dictate my life, but not anymore. This is my time to focus on myself, my dreams, and my future. I've come to realize that sometimes family isn't about blood, it's about the people who truly care about you. For me, that's Megan and the few friends who supported me through this mess. My parents and Lily may never understand why I made this choice, but that's okay. I don't need their approval anymore. For the first time in my life, I feel free. Update. It's been 3 months since I moved out, and a lot has happened since then. At first, living with Megan was a bit of an adjustment. I was used to tiptoeing around my family, constantly worried about pleasing everyone. But Megan encouraged me to relax and focus on myself. She even helped me find a small studio apartment about 10 minutes from the community college I'm attending. It's not much, just a tiny space with a bed, a desk, and a kitchenette, but it's mine, and that's all that matters. My parents didn't take my moving out well. For the first month, they tried everything to get me to come back. My mom left me teary voicemails almost every day, apologizing for pushing me too hard and asking me to forgive them. My dad, on the other hand, sent a series of angry texts about how I was abandoning my family and letting my sister suffer. Lily didn't hold back either. She posted a story on Instagram about how I destroyed the family and made her life miserable. Her friends joined in, sending me nasty messages and calling me selfish. At first, it bothered me, but after a while, I stopped caring. They could say whatever they wanted. It didn't change the fact that I wasn't going to sacrifice my future for someone who'd never appreciated me. The breaking point came when my parents showed up at my apartment unannounced. I still don't know how they found my address, but one evening, I heard a knock on the door and opened it to find them standing there, looking upset. "We need to talk," my dad said, pushing past me into the apartment. I froze for a moment, then followed them inside. My mom was already crying, and my dad looked furious. "You made your point," he said, crossing his arms. "You're independent now, fine, but Lily still needs your help." "I'm not giving her my money," I said firmly, standing my ground. "Do you even understand what you're doing to this family?" my mom asked, her voice shaking. "Your sister is falling apart. She's had to stay with a friend because she can't move into that apartment." "And that's not my fault," I said. "Lily is 17. If she can't afford to live on her own, then maybe she shouldn't try to." My dad slammed his hand on the table. "You're her older sister. It's your responsibility to take care of her." "No," I said, my voice calm but steady. "It's your responsibility. You're her parents, not me. I've done enough." For a moment, they just stared at me, as if they couldn't believe what I was saying. Then my mom started crying harder, and my dad shook his head in disgust. "You've changed," he said bitterly. "We don't even recognize you anymore." "No," I said, my voice cracking slightly. "I just finally learned to stand up for myself." They left after that, slamming the door behind them. I sat on the couch for a long time, trying to process what had just happened. Part of me felt guilty. No matter how much they'd hurt me, they were still my parents, but another part of me felt relieved. I finally said what I needed to say, and there was no going back. Since that day, I've had little contact with my family. My mom sent a few more texts, but they stopped after I didn't respond. Lily hasn't reached out at all, which doesn't surprise me. I heard through a mutual friend that she and Mike are back together, that they're still not living together. Apparently, she's been telling people that I betrayed her, but I stopped caring what she thinks. The surprising part is how much support I've received from people I didn't expect. A few of my cousins reached out after hearing what happened and told me they admired my courage. One of them even confided that she'd been treated the same way by her parents and wished she'd stood up for herself sooner. As for me, life isn't perfect, but it's getting better. I've been working part-time at a local bookstore to cover my rent and expenses, and I'm doing well in my classes. Journalism feels like the right path for me. It's challenging, but it gives me a sense of purpose I've never felt before. The best part is that I finally feel free. Free from the constant pressure to put my family's needs above my own. Free from the guilt that used to weigh me down. I've learned that it's okay to say no, even to the people who are supposed to love you. I'm not sure what the future holds. Maybe my parents and I will reconcile someday, or maybe we won't. Either way, I know I made the right choice. For the first time in my life, I'm putting myself first, and that's something no one can take away from me.